Hi, I'm Andre Huie, and welcome to another edition of Newsline 360. This is a current affairs and news program airing on TVC Channel 40 in St. Kitts and other cable networks across the region. And we also want to welcome those watching on the TVC Plus app and on social media. Today, we're going to be talking about the media. We just recently observed World Press Freedom Day for 2026, had a very interesting theme, and we want to look at the state of the media in St. Kitts and Nevis. And who best to talk to about that than the Media Association of St. Kitts and Nevis? I have with me the communications director of the Media Association of St. Kitts and Nevis, Jamiella McPhail. Well, let's start. We're going to look at the state of media. But before we get into that, I certainly want to get an update from you with the Media Association. I understand there will be an election approaching soon, but we also wanted to get an idea or insight into what the Media Association has been doing over the past couple of years. I think the last time we had you on was close to the election the last time around 2 years ago. So certainly we'd love to get an update from you.
So the last time I was here, we spoke a lot about training because we mentioned that we formed the Media Association in an effort to really better and improve what we do here in St. Kitts and Nevis, and we found that it was necessary, it was very necessary to introduce training to the media fraternity. So we have continued to do that. We have partnered during this term with a number of non-governmental organizations to bring training to our media professionals. I remember one such entity was the Lake Health and Wellness. They came on board and they assisted us with training for persons living with disabilities, and we also did some mental health training as well. So it has always been our mandate to ensure that media professionals here in the Federation are trained. We recognize that, within the media fraternity, we often get a lot of criticism, some warranted, some not so warranted, but we recognize that we're not perfect and it's important to maintain a certain level of training, maintain a certain level of, operating within a at a professional level. So we were happy to partner with these non-governmental organizations. Another thing that we did, we wanted to really ascertain the state of media within our federation because this is where we operate and it's important to know where we are so that we can make decisions going forward. So we went on a tour, if you will, to media houses across Kitts and Nevis, and we had consultations with not just the media professionals, but owners of media houses, general managers, etc. So we could get, the state of the newsroom, some challenges that are being faced. What can we do? What sorts of training will be, necessary to improve what we do as a federation on a whole. So we did that. We still have a few media houses to visit, but we promise that we'll visit them shortly. So that's in a nutshell what we have been doing over the past few years.
It seemed like it was a busy time indeed. A lot on your plate there. I want to touch on the part on the consultations because I think that's quite important. The consultations you've had, the association had with various media houses to ascertain the state of their newsrooms in particular. Why was this important? Because you would assume that media houses, especially those that are news media outlets, that they're adequately equipped to carry out the job. Why was there a need to have this consultation?
Well, that is the assumption, but we on the ground, we working in the profession, we know that that is not always the case. We have been faced with a number of challenges. One of the major challenges that we face within the profession is that of finances. There are media houses that are strained when it comes to their finances. And so we've seen newsrooms really shrink from maybe 3, 4 persons working in a newsroom to, in some cases, one, right? We've seen the technology increased so rapidly that some media hosts have found it difficult to really keep up with the technology and bring the quality of information that they would like to. So it was important that we have these conversations with the media hosts to find out, how can we assist? What can we do to ensure that their product is better? And what training opportunities we can, provide for their professionals to ensure that, we kind of fill the gap. Another issue was that in St. Kitts and Nevis and throughout the world, because I look at international television, people always criticize the media. You hear comments about not enough investigative journalism. You hear comments about the media not asking the difficult questions. They're not saying what we want them to say. They go to these press conferences and they're afraid. We wanted to find out from media professionals if this is an issue, if it is indeed that they are afraid to ask some of the difficult questions, or if they're facing any pressure from whoever to bring their message as opposed to another message. So it was important to have these conversations because sometimes we hear a lot of speculation, but we don't know if speculation is actually based on fact. We had those conversations. We found out that yes, there are some challenges, as there are in everyone, but we also recognize that there are avenues that we can take to ensure that some of these problems become, well, we find solutions to some of these problems.
Hmm. On that issue, though, and that is one of the criticisms you hear a lot of the local media and media in general, but mostly here in St. Kitts Nevis, that the media is afraid to ask the hard questions. From your experience as a journalist and as a media worker, and also from the consultations you would have gathered from the various media outlets and journalists you would have spoken to, is that really the reality, or is it just a perception? And if so, why do you think that is the case? Why do you think that people think that journalists are afraid to ask the so-called hard questions?
I think that there are some journalists who are a bit timid and maybe afraid to not, and I don't want to use the word afraid either, but may shy away from certain questions. The fact is, we live in a small society, a very small society. Everybody knows everybody, and it is sometimes a daunting process to stand in front of people who you feel have all the power and ask certain questions. Now, that comes from experience again, comes from training. Now, that's one part of the issue. The other part of the issue is that there are people out there who would like you to push their agenda. The reality of the situation. They would like you to say what they want you to say when they want you to say it. Sometimes it's not the most prudent question to ask. Sometimes you don't have the necessary evidence to back up that question. And sometimes that question may put you in legal issues, right? So I admit that there are times where questions may should have been asked and were not asked because again it's a personal choice and nobody wants to really be at loggerheads with people. But I don't think the situation is as bad as people try to make it out to be. We
Mm.
ask questions. I have asked questions. I know you have asked really difficult questions, right? And sometimes there are questions that I have asked that I knew that I would not get a response to. But I asked them still because it was important to put it on the record that these questions were asked.
Yeah, and
Again, we are.
no, go
No,
ahead,
I
go
was
ahead.
going
Sorry.
to say again, we are working with our media professionals to ensure that trained, that they have a certain level of confidence because you have to have that level of confidence to ask certain things. So that will kind of eliminate, and experience as well, will eliminate some of that timidness that I mentioned in the beginning.
Right. And the point I was going to make, actually, and you're absolutely right. The point I was going to make to add to what you're saying is that my former editor will always say, you can ask the questions, but you don't control the answers. So more often than not, and to your point, you would ask the so-called hard questions, but again, as politicians do sometimes, most of the times, they tend not to answer the questions at all or directly. So yeah, that's part of the reality as well.
A part of the job is also being able to read the room. It's also being able to ascertain whether or not that person is in the place to give you an answer to that question, right? So you have to be skillful with that as well.
Yeah, and that is so true. We're going to take a break at this point, and I want to continue this part of the discussion after the break because I think it's quite interesting. You're watching Newsline 360 here on TVC Channel 40. I'm Andre Huie. We'll be right back after these messages to continue our conversation with Jamiella McPhail of the Media Association of St. Kitts and Nevis.
Welcome to Channel Links, your most reliable shipping agent. Shopping online sometimes can be challenging, especially when trying to get the best deals from China. But with Channel Links, they make it easy and simple for you, the shopper. With agents working with them for over 20 years, Channel Links offers the best in supplier screening to ensure background checks are done on online merchants, so you know you're shopping with genuine sellers. They handle freight forwarding. No cargo is too big or small for their shipping services, shipping from their warehouses in China directly to your final destination. And get this, they offer door-to-door and port-to-port services as well. So, whether you are ordering from AliExpress, Alibaba, and other Asian shopping sites to cash in on affordable prices at the best quality, shipping from China to the Caribbean, your best and only option is Channel Links, located in St. Martin with shipments also to St. Kitts and Nevis. For more information, call or WhatsApp 1721-554-4802, 1721-526-4766, 1721-581-6968, or 1721-580-4834, or email contact_us at channel-lynx.com. Channel Links, your shipping solution.
You ready? You ready? Let's go! Cheers to the city. 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 Cheers to the city.
King James is a soca artist out of the beautiful island of Sunshine City, St. Martin. I love music, grew up around music, and I just love to entertain people. Got started in music from a young age. My creative process is, one, I would get a vibe, get a melody. That's why having talent behind us makes such a difference. They are not just our local telecom. They are supporting local artists, giving us the support and tools to keep creating and sharing without limits. And with Telem's new internet speeds, I can upload my files and tracks in seconds, send big files to producers overseas, and even live stream without worrying about buffering. But Telem has always played a role when it comes to young talent on the island. I would actually go as far to say this. Without Telem, there probably wouldn't be a King James right now. Telem is showcasing that St. Martin can compete on any level. They are investing in us, in our creativity, and in our future. And that's something I'm proud to be a part of.
At The Cable, we believe in giving back because when our community thrives, we all do. That's why, as a company, we make it our mission to touch the lives of everyone in St. Kitts. We spearheaded the renovation of JNF Hospital lobby to ensure better care for all. The Cable sponsors free Wi-Fi in every community center across St. Kitts, so no one is left behind in an increasingly connected world. We stand with communities through every moment, big or small, in culture, education, youth development, and more. Y a ti también, comunidad latina. Cuenta con nosotros. Estamos con ustedes. And when it comes to customer service, we set the standard. We're just a call, click, or visit away because you matter to us. Join the company that truly cares. The Cable, more than service. We're family. Somos familia. And we're proud to always give more where it matters.
Welcome back to Newsline 360. We're discussing the issue of the state of the media in St. Kitts and Nevis, and we're speaking to Communications Director at the Media Association of St. Kitts and Nevis, Jamiella McPhail. Jamie, before the break, we were talking about the fact that a lot of journalists in St. Kitts and Nevis get criticized for not asking the hard questions. And in some instances, you made some valid points as to why that may be the case. One of the areas, though, that we sometimes gloss over is protections for journalists, media workers who may be threatened. We don't have a lot of those cases in St. Kitts, but we did have some in the past, and we've had situations where media workers feel intimidated by the authorities or persons who are close to them. How would the association, if a case were to occur, provide assistance and support to a journalist or media worker who may be threatened in that sense?
Now, it is absolutely important to ensure that our members, our media professionals, they feel secure and they feel protected. So whilst we are not a union, we do all in our power to ensure that our media workers are protected. In situations such as those, we really need to do some sort of investigation at the beginning to ascertain what the situation is. Then we'll put out a statement. And I don't think that people take kindly to statements, so that usually does the trick. But in more severe cases, we'll lean on our international partners, such as the ACM, the Association of Caribbean Media Workers, and we'll get advice from them. We'll bring in international scrutiny so that the people here understand that whilst we may not have all the power, we're a small association and St. Kitts and Nevis is small, we do have some protection within the region and internationally as well. Now, those are just some of the things that we can do in a case where a media worker is maybe sued, because we know that media professionals and media houses have been sued quite often here in St. Kitts and Nevis. We know an election is around the corner, and we know that those tend to come with a lot of lawsuits. We can provide some legal advice. We can't provide legal representation at this moment in time, but we can provide some legal advice and assist the media professional or even the media host through that process. So we are ready to stand with our professionals, with our members, to ensure that they feel protected whilst doing their jobs.
That's good to know. And it takes me to the point now of the World Press Freedom Day that was observed recently worldwide, and the Media Association would have issued a statement on World Press Freedom Day. Now, the theme this year was shaping a future at peace. Now, in one of the sentences of the statement, it reads, as the professional body representing the media fraternity in St. Kitts and Nevis, the association remains vigilant and committed to addressing any threats to press freedom. Now, since the revitalization of the association in 2022, the Media Association of St. Kitts and Nevis has consistently raised concerns about the sustainability of local media entities. Many are facing significant challenges brought on by technological advancements, the rise of artificial intelligence, and the growing presence of social media reporters and platforms presenting themselves as legitimate news sources. Now, you made some inferences to some of this when you talk about the technological advances earlier on. But
Definitely.
the rise of social media and what the statement describes as social media reporters and platforms pretending to be news outlets, but are not really genuine news outlets. How much of a concern or a challenge is that in St. Kitts and Nevis?
It's a major concern, it's a major challenge here in St. Kitts and Nevis as it is throughout the entire world. We have seen what has been described as an epidemic of fake news or fake news, information that has not been verified. And what we have really tried to do, because we've had a number of talk shows, we've had a number of engagements, but not just our members, but the general public, to try to provide some education, to try to provide some information as to how to go about ascertaining whether the information that you're reading on social media is coming from a verified source, because that is important. With the rise of AI, you're seeing people, you can see my face and hear my voice saying things that I have never said. And I know that it becomes difficult to really decipher what is fact from what is fiction. So we are committed to providing that kind of information to the general public. We have also seen the rise of a number of individuals who are able to bring you stories like that. No verification. They just have a cell phone in many cases, just a cell phone, and they use, I guess, Chat GPT to put something out there. Sometimes the information is incorrect or there is a certain level of truth, but it is skewed in the way that they want you to receive that information. So again, we have had to really come out and say, these are not official sources. Look to the official sources for the information. We've had those conversations. I've heard comments even coming from officials within St. Kitts and Nevis, encouraging people to, get your information from official sources. So it is a serious problem that we are aware of. We have done some work in the past, and we are committed to doing the work going forward to ensuring that our nationals, people who are living here, are aware of the situation and can decipher between fact and an alternate reality, right? Because that has become very evident. I was looking at a video the other day that portrayed the president of the United States, and somebody said, but why would he behave like this? I'm like, but clearly it's not true, you know. Clearly it's not true. And that person said to me, but how do you know, like, how do you check to see, like, what would you do to find out that it's not true? So we know that our hands are full, because it is somewhat of our responsibility as media professionals to offer that education to our listeners, to the general public.
So that definitely means then that the association work is cut out for the association to try and educate people on the importance. And I think that's a good segue into my next question, because the issue of media literacy was also addressed in the statement. And that's what you just described is an issue of media literacy, or people not knowing what's
Yeah.
real and what isn't. And it's even difficult for us sometimes to decipher what's real and what
Yeah,
isn't. What
I
are some of the
remember
things?
seeing an interview. I remember seeing an interview with you, Andre, with a British accent. And you were interviewing the prime minister who was speaking about some scheme, and people thought that that was really true, you know?
Well, actually, it was the
So,
prime minister who
media
had the
literacy,
British accent. I kind of had a slight one,
yes,
but he had the British accent.
yes, yes. So as we see, media literacy is becoming increasingly important. I think it was always important. But we as an association, we as media professionals, we do have some responsibility to ensure that our readers, our listeners, the people who are viewing, they understand how to interact with this information. They understand what a verified source is and what a verified source is not. So we're doing that. We're doing that work, and we will continue to do so.
Yes, and of course, why as the media becomes aware of these of the tools, because there are tools out there to verify things and to verify information to ensure that they're accurate. So as we get more educated on these things, we also need to educate the public that they too can also become aware. On that note, and before we end this segment, well, actually, we're going to close this segment, and we'll come back to wrap up. We're going to get your insights into the elections, what were some things that we're looking out for, and also just to wrap up on this issue of misinformation, disinformation, and how do you know what site or what media outlet is a genuine outlet? I think that is a big concern for a lot of people as well. You're watching Newsline 360. We'll be right back after these messages.
A new day begins. The sun rises over St. Martin, bringing new energy, new possibilities. This island was built on resilience, progress, and the strength of its people. Our connection is what moves us forward. It links our communities, our businesses, our families. From the heart of the island to the shores beyond, we've connected St. Martin. From every street to every home, this network was built for St. Martin by St. Martin hands. Connection isn't just about signals, it's about people. This is your island and your network recharged. Proudly local, we're here for today, tomorrow, and every milestone ahead.
And we're back with the final segment of Newsline 360 here on TVC Channel 40 and the various cable outlets across the region and those watching on the TVC Plus app. I'm your host, Andre Huie. My guest is Jamiella McPhail, the Communications Director at the Media Association of St. Kitts and Nevis. To wrap up the interview, Jamie, in this last segment, I do want to touch on one more point before we talk more about the Media Association and the elections upcoming. How do people identify or detect when a news site or social media page that's put up that is a news or purports to be a news outlet? How do you tell? Because people have lumped essentially all the media into one. So the ones that are not genuine and the ones that are genuine and bona fide media outlets are all lumped together, which, as you know, is not correct, because you have people who go out and verify facts and who are actually trained journalists, and others who just maybe doing it as a hobby or just doing it with the intention of misinforming or disinforming the public. How do you tell when you go to a news website? How do you tell that this site is real or not?
Well, I would generally look for an email address first off the bat. I would look for an email address. Usually, that email address will have the domain name or of the institution. I will also look for a telephone number. There is no way you have a media house and you don't have your telephone number posted anywhere on your website, anywhere on your social media pages, on your social media platforms. How are people supposed to reach out to you? How are people supposed to do business with you? That is not how how a legitimate media house operates. We want people to be able to reach out to us. We want people to be able to do business with us. Usually, there is also a name or staff, the names of staff attached to your social media platforms or your website. We have to have a face to put with your name. So if you're seeing a social media platform and there's no name, there's no way to contact them, no contact information besides a WhatsApp, so you can't call anybody. You don't know who you're speaking to. There is not a legitimate email address, then generally speaking, I would have concerns. And that's not just about media pages either. There are times where you're on social media and people would reach out to you, and there are many, many scams on social media. And those are the same things that you do. You check for a name, a face to put with that name. You check for email addresses, and you go through those steps to really verify that these pages are legitimate.
Let's now come back to the elections. You have the elections coming up. But what can we expect? Can we expect some of the old faces on the board still making themselves available, including yourself, because you have served 2 terms as a communications director?
Well, I don't know. What I will say is I am very excited to really go back to the members and look to them to offer you that confidence in the work that you have done so far and the work that you will continue to do. So the election is scheduled for May 14th. Nomination closes on May 12th, but if you are a member and you want to nominate yourself or, somebody else, another member of the association, you may do so on the night of the election. Let me say this. The association is relatively new, and we started out being very excited about what we can do to make the profession a more enjoyable space to work in, to ensure that we provide the product that the public wants, because that is why we're here, to provide that product, to provide that information to the general public. So we take that responsibility very seriously, and we are excited to see changes going forward, but we are also excited to continuing the work that we have done so far in terms of really streamlining the process of media within St. Kitts and Nevis, training our professionals. We had conversations about starting a club, because we're not just here to serve us. We're not just here to serve the members that we have today, but we really want to ensure that young people come into the profession, because most times when you go to the schools and you speak to these young people, they don't tell you that they want to work in media. And we want them to come into the profession. And so we are committed to starting a media club within the high schools to give students a snapshot, if you will, as to what we do. And what we do is not just talk. We have many opportunities, camera people, social media people. We want everybody, to be excited about what we do, as excited as we are. So those are the plans. We also spoke about an insurance policy, because again, we need to offer protection, not just protection from the people who may be upset by what we say, but we need to offer tangible protection so that when you go to the doctor, you may not have to pay as much as somebody who does not have insurance. Those things are real. Those things are real benefits for our professionals. So those are the things that I am excited about. I'm excited for the night of the elections. I want to see if it's the same executive, if we're going to see new faces. I'd like to see some new faces, because it's not just about us, it's about everybody within the association. So at this point, I'll wish everybody the best of luck, and we are committed to working with whoever is elected to the executive.
And will we see you on the next executive? Are you making yourself available?
But Andre, why you want to put me on the spot?
I'll leave you there then.
Yes, I will make myself available for our next term.
All right. Well,
And it has been good. It has been an enjoyable 2 terms working along with you, Andre. We started to work on this association even before the first election. And I don't think that people know that. I want to commend people like Precious Mills. She did a lot of work before the association even got off the ground. Jermaine Abel, he was also a part of those first discussions. Mr. Glenn Bart, um, Vala Henry as well.
Yes, Sharon Richards, who's their assistant secretary, she also worked.
Yes, yes. So those very early meetings in Warner Park where we came together and we decided what we wanted the association to look like. So I am happy for the fact that we were able to accomplish that, and I commend you guys for putting yourselves forward and ensuring that the goals that we had then, we are seeing them come to fruition, and we'll continue to work.
Indeed, indeed. Thank you so much again, Jamie, and thank you for your work and your service on the executive. And like I said, we will see what happens on the night of the election as the members will go out to vote for their new executive. And thank you so much for taking time out to be on today's show, and we wish you all the best. And thank you, the viewers, for watching this edition of Newsline 360 here on TVC Channel 40 and the TVC Plus app. Remember, you can watch this show again on demand by visiting our website, tvcplus.live, or watching on the TVC Plus app, tapping on TV shows. From all of us here at TVC Channel 40, I'm Andre Huie. Thank you for watching. Join us again next week for another program.